the bearers of the infinite light of God. You can ask Jesus, is that my only function, to bear light? That's supreme happiness. We're so used to bearing the weight of the world. It's good to put that down. That was like a real showstopper this morning when Jesus said, the only thing that you can depend on, the only thing in this world is that I will lead you out of it. I will lead you out. And when you ask him, you know he's not kidding. Is that the only thing that can be depended on in this world, is that he has come to lead us out? And hear the answer from the light, infinite light of being. The only thing we can depend on is that he has come to lead us out. You start to see that's really the only thing worth depending on. God dependency of the one who knows. Yeah, once again, he didn't tell me a thing about what we're covering tonight. So I guess I'll find out when like no planning, just trust Jesus will speak through us. And that's what he's really encouraging for all of us, to have no plan for what to say or what to do, or and I can see as we just ask him to take on more of that for us. See, at first we like that planning, we want to get prepared, and I saw all that planning and preparation. And Mooji would talk about it too. You know, he'd say, you're too late if you plan what you're going to say. It's not full. It loses life itself, the totality of all that is. Because see, does the infinite light of being plan how it expresses? It just is love, as it is, perfect, whole, and complete. We can ask, is that my function? Just to, he said, that's the only way you'll find joy. Because you'll see it's for you, that just, it's for you. There's no one to convince. There's no one to, it's just the joy, the play becomes inconsequential, yet joyful. Because you can see, is the world inconsequential to infinite light of being? And here Jesus's answer. Yet can it reflect the celebration of all that is? And how can it not, when God is in everything I see? So we come together to celebrate. We're one, and to play. It's so interesting, you know, when Rita and I were talking a little bit, because you notice these as things seem to change, like the idea of independency, being independent, and really wanting to go off and do by yourself, kind of that way the ego plays. And then in this, you can feel that lift come up, the wind beneath your wings. No kidding, your brother. You know, so we're working on the printed copy of a new covenant. We're going to print it in all the insanity of the world to make it a full color book. See, Jesus has no rules. You know, it's available free. So, but we were just in the joy going, okay, what are the quotes? And let's play with the pictures and not being attached to anything, just the play of joy in the celebration of what is. So he was reminding me earlier about the power in the concentration, that density in chapter 20 to work with him, and encouraging beings to, he'll give guidance on this if you're willing to hear him, to jump on board with the mighty, but really not more than, ask him, not more than 2, unless it's specific guidance. And to just sit down and together and just explore chapter 20. And there's lots of ways you can do it. You can just read the sheet and then ask each line and check in with them and see if, is there anything I need to see here? And you can also go through chapter 20. We've got probably 3 sets of going through chapter 20, maybe the most recent one in the playlist for the nighttime light circles. And you can go through that, and then you can just pause each one. You know, you sit with the book and get with the mighty. We pause, let's reflect. Jesus, show me this. Is there anything else I need to see? That is a chunk, oh, desires, that chapter. It's the humble chapter. What about the, yes, what about this one? Yep. It's the yes, Jesus, you're right chapter for sure. It's a happy chapter. Because the whole time he's just going to be telling you, you know, and that's not so. That's just not true. And then it just really, you'll just see it. Your clarity, it's speaking to them and hearing them and having you teach you, like that one-on-one coaching. You know, we go out and I remember, you know, beings, I wanted to be like a coach in the world. It had its purpose, but it also can stay for a long time as an unhealed healer. You know, the healer has to heal and see that there's only one coach in the world of any value, and that's that one. And just to go to him, as we keep talking about the empty slate, and just go, okay, I don't know anything about this. Like Muji goes around, I love that. He goes around, I don't want to know anything about anything. And he says, people keep coming up to me and asking me about tomorrow. He says, I don't want to know anything. I don't want to know anything about tomorrow. I mean, he'll, you know, it's not like he doesn't plan anything, but in general, he's such a great reflection because he's so in the, you know, the resonance of pure infinite love. Everything is a reflection in the mind, like, and the all is well message. Oh my goodness. He's like the cuddle bear. I used to call him the velvet axe because, you know, because you just love him. You're around and you just love him. And that energy, you know, it's so loving. But boy, if you stand up and satsang, because he just knows where you know, when the mind's so clear, that's the reflection, boy. He knows exactly where the ego is still lurking in there. And it's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to go up to Guruji. I'm going to get chopped. You know what's good about that? Chopping, or seemingly by a master, not really, no one chops anyone, is you see that there's no one to get chopped. It was a figment of your imagination. So there's no one that really chops anyone, but consciousness is providing, because it can't deceive itself for too long. Millennia is probably long, probably long enough before we finally say, okay, that's Toto, that's done. Listo. I'm finished. What do you say when you get your little shopping list done in a store and they go, you Toto, you finished? Listo, complete. And but it's really helpful. You see how helpful it is to be around those reflections in the mind of compromise, particularly when you don't know what compromise is. You can ask Jesus. That's a really good one to ask him. Jesus, do I know what compromise is really? See, the ego's idea of compromise would be to follow Jesus. That's sacrifice, see? Ask him. Everybody teases me. Okay, your favorite line is ask you. Well, ask him. You can ask him everything. Because you can. He'll tell you direct. That's what he's saying. And it's certainly showing up in these light circles. You got the power of God coming through, man. It's beautiful. The power of infinite being talking. We need him to teach us what I didn't, I was in community for a while and it's like they talk about no compromise. What are you talking about? I have like no clue. That's the whole egoic consciousness, is not to have a clue that it's compromising itself 24/7 by not following Jesus. I guess we just get it when we get it. And buying in that we can't hear the voice. That's convenient, but it's not true. Because that would be like saying that we're not infinite, that we can't hear that voice. So compromise is not hearing the voice because it's natural. It's our voice. Compromise is not looking to see that it's nothing. It's not looking with Jesus to go, oh, all right, you're right. That's nothing. And how many beliefs, by the way, has he shown us over this path that you can't even remember what you were upset about? It's like, well, that was nothing. What was, it was like this big kerfuffle, smoke rising, hair tearing. I'm sure I'm dying. The big fight. And then it's like, oops, well, I misjudged that one. All of consciousness is that, Jesus is saying. The entirety of consciousness is a oopsie. Bobo. And our only function is to see it with them, that we desired it, and then laugh. Because to see that infinite being is untouched. That it's just one big oopsie daisy. It's like, what do you mean, Jesus? It doesn't feel like oopsie daisy. And then he'll be very calm. He says, come here, let me show you. And he'll whisper in your ear, you desired it, thus you experience it. You desire it, thus you experience. You can ask him, Jesus, is every single drop of anything that I experience my desire? The teeniest little itsy bitsy twitch is a desire, and hear what he said. Okay. That's honesty of God. Infinite, pretending it can twitch. Dreaming of twitching. That something outside actually can do something to infinite. So we always start in the light circles with the light of infinite. Infinite being. To celebrate. I love that when he was showing us in the manual for teachers to have that one thought, at least a little time given over to the thought of infinite joy. Let's do that now. Why wait? Infinite joy. One thought of infinite joy. Unceasing happiness. Just marinate in that drug for a while. And then the ego goes, well, can that be real? Is that true? That's why we have to go to the voice who knows. Jesus, is that true? We go to the ego. Where does that go? That can't be true. You got to work for it. You got to work to be infinite. He's in show me, show me. Ask me, show me, Jesus. Show me where I'm compromising. Well, and you can ask him that. You can ask him all kinds of things like, yeah, show me, can you tell me today? I'll say, can you tell me if I compromise today? Infinite. Show me where I compromised today. Show me where I'm avoiding hearing you. He'll get that specific if you open that door. Or if you say, okay, show me, just like we're doing every light circle, you can do that 24/7, you know. Well, when he tells you, he says, sometimes he's going to say, just rest. You know, he'll give whatever's most helpful. Sometimes he says, okay, it's good to look. Is this a good time to look, Jesus? I love that, you know, again, in the text where he's talking to Helen. And he would actually tell her when she'd be done writing because she'd be late for wherever she was going. Ask him, Jesus, would you help me with the same thing? He said to her while she's writing, he said, because some kind of kerfuffle happened, right? I don't know. I can't remember exactly what it was, but she was writing away or whatever. And he told her, because you didn't ask me if you were done. That's how specific. Were you done with writing? Or either that, or she kept writing, you know. She kept trying to write. And you know, he's telling, no, you're done. That's how specific he is. Because we need that level of specificity. Otherwise, we are in this big maze, kind of banging around in there like a big pinball machine. We're just bouncing off the ball coming down. Bing, 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 bing. But he's saying, ask, you can ask him, Jesus, if I ask you, will you be specific with me? So as you develop that relationship of continually just, what about this? And at least start with the things you feel willing to ask them. You know, the crack under the door. You'll be surprised. It'll be so surprised. It was so beautiful. Like, because we all feel like Dennis was saying that is so, so gorgeous what he was saying. It's like my whole heart just, because of the play in consciousness, we're not even sure we're hearing Jesus. But until we really practice listening, we can't know. But, you know, to get out there and really let me see if this is real for myself. Because where is divinity going to be accepted? It doesn't get accepted out there. It's getting accepted here. You know, it's where the buck stops. It's where the denial is. So it's helpful for a time. It's helpful for a time to seeming have symbols outside of us that seem to talk to Jesus. But ultimately, if we don't start the conversation within, and it's helpful for a time to hear it, but right now, Jesus is saying what's most helpful is for everyone to hear him directly and have that conversation with him. That's what's most helpful right now. Because we can, because we're infinite beings. And he's providing a means not to be afraid of him. He's providing, see, he's giving that little worksheet. He's given us our brother to explore. I love that movie, The Last Mimsy, where they're just exploring it on the beach, exploring what the possibility is. And get curious. They had that little curiosity. I wonder if I can hear him. I wonder if he starts talking to me, whether I'm going to implode. Or all the thoughts that came up here, but you can talk about him about every one of those. Just say, and you can see it in the reflections. You can watch the videos of beings starting to talk to him, where their first questions are telling him, having a conversation with Jesus about why they're afraid, and have him coach them through it. What could be better than that? But like he's bringing up armchair Jesus again. Armchair. You can't be an armchair, tuck in your little cave hovel. I mean, there's times where it may be given to go, deep into the, but he's saying not now. Now is the time to start stepping out of the comfort zone and joining and jumping into the assignments with him. But remember, when you're on an assignment, you're still listening to him the whole time. It says everything's an assignment to see that you're infinite. There's no limit. He's not trying to take you somewhere to Bali or something so you can see you're infinite. That just happened to be most helpful in that moment, because it was out of comfort zone. See, when you go out of your comfort zone, the ego, it's interesting. He's using consciousness itself to fold back on itself. Because we think in our little house and our little safety zone, we're safe and comfortable, and it's an idea. It's an illusion that there's some environment that's safer, quote unquote, than another. So he's trying to stretch us out of that to see that who do we walk with this earth? Who walks with us to see that we invented the whole earth? How can we be afraid of what we invented? Because it's a desired experience to create the world and then be afraid of what we made. So we won't look to see that we can never usurp the power of God. Jesus, do I desire in experience to usurp the power of God? And then he tells you, yes. Oh, okay. Let's just check in. Is God upset about it? But we will be. So it really is the only way, is for each being to look within. Because it's trusting ourselves. Remember, he said, at least he told me when he was explaining to me, because, trust was such a foreign The ego will turn everything into a little concept, wrap it in a box with a bow in it, make it try to look good, Like, the ego tries to wrap hell up in a box and make it look pretty. So, when he was explaining to me about what trust is, how trust never, just like thoughts, trust never leaves its source. Ask Jesus, does trust leave source? Trust is just a helpful expression within consciousness to look beyond the idea of a personal identity, to trust that there's something more than the concept we have of ourselves. Because ultimately, it's the great boomerang. See, trust doesn't go out. Suddenly you realize, wait a minute, bing. It's trusting ourselves that we're of greater value than the concept of who we think we are. And Jesus says in the New Covenant, faith requires conviction. Faith is the same way, a conviction that you are of greater value than the idea that you have about yourself. This requires conviction. Miracles could require conviction. Talks about that in the Course. And I didn't understand that. But if you have no willingness to invest, it's like investing in the bank of love. Because we've withdrawn all our allegiance from the bank of love. We took all our money out and we went next door and said, this looks like a good bank over here, this bank of death, and put all of our change, everything in that. Ask Jesus. So that's a good thing to ask him too when you're making a decision. Jesus, is this an investment in the bank of death? He says every time you make a decision by yourself, you just went next door. But just see, I was so beautiful this morning when he was just talking about, that reminded me about begin again. And boy, Lisa Fair would say that. Bless Lisa Fair, love her so much. Every day in community, she'd say, okay, we begin again. Yeah. And that's what Jesus is saying to all of us. Nothing that way on a timeline and nothing that way. Nothing touches infinite light. Ask Jesus. Jesus, it's such a good question. Jesus, is one iota before right this minute of any interest to you? He says, so why is it of interest to you? Get a little Jesus zinger there. Why is it that? That's a good question. What purpose does it serve to have a single thought about anything that's beyond what's here? That's a good question. Very good. What purpose does that serve? Is the infinite light of being handing out past thoughts? Is it handing out any future thoughts? See if the light of infinite being has any thoughts, and then see, does infinite light have a calendar? Calendar. We're so used to that concept of time and planning. Let's just ask Jesus. Here's a fun one. Let's ask him, because we can all hear him. So Jesus, If I never planned anything, would that work? Do I need to plan anything? Hear what he says. Is he giving you the nudge? Do I have to plan one single thing? Ask him. You see, that's why he's saying turn over time and space. Let's just ask ourselves, have we done a good job so far with time and space? I don't think anybody's sitting here going, yeah, sure, I've done a good job. No. That's when you're getting into that honesty of God, when you look and you just go, time and space, no, hasn't worked out so well. That would be a concept that that's why we keep trying to go on vacation. Because Jesus is talking about permanent vacation from the idea of who we think we are. He's saying, I'm inviting you all to a laughing vacation. The world will end in happy laughter, except this is a timeless vacation. This is a vacation outside of time and space. Let the good times roll, you know that one? You are the good time. You're the sun and the moon and the stars. Ask Jesus, am I the sun, the moon? He's not telling you no. But we can't be happy until we admit that and look and see in a million ways. Oh my gosh. I think I said that, told you about that letter I wrote to Jackie Simpson a couple of years, like, I can see that there's light here. I don't want to have anything to do with it. I can see I don't want to have any, that's the whole gig right there. Do not want to have anything to do with infinite light. But this is going to be a light speed, infinite light vacation, working, just being with Jesus to clear those denials for those who want to transcend personal identity. Someone said in the group, this is like a rocket ship to infinite. And you can ask Jesus and have your own direct experience. This is a rocket ship to transcending personal identity because it's so direct and it's unsparing. You can't, who's going to have a conversation with Jesus and in-run him? And he's helping us with honesty of God. He's teaching us what true honesty is. Because we spend our whole lives with a misconception that honesty is something that comes through your mouth, this set of words compared to that set of words, and therefore that's honesty. You can ask him, is that honesty? Honesty is admitting divinity. That is the only honesty there is, divine being. After you can ask Jesus, is that the only honesty there is? And he's adding honesty of God is admitting that you're denying. So God will just tuck that right in there. This is where we really have each other for true honesty. That's the holy relationship. The ego has an idea that telling somebody, look, I stole cookies. No. Or whatever, I was involved in whatever it was, when I was young and no, that's not honesty. Honesty is going, I had this experience and because I desired the experience. Okay. That's honesty. Yeah. Okay. It's not, I desired an experience of feeling like a victim. I desire an experience of being a victimizer, to deny that there's no such thing. So that's where he's really focusing on what honesty is. And it's so beautiful to see everyone's reflections in the groups and in the it's so helpful for all of us, in the what Jesus told me today, or however you're posting. I think Irene did a post. It was hilarious. But it's helpful for the whole, do you see? Because we're all getting to see what honesty really is. Honesty is innocence. True innocence, not face of innocence. Honesty is going, you're right, Jesus, that's honesty. That's what we've come together for, to celebrate true honesty. And the world's going to play, and there's going to be a court, and beings are going to go into it, and they're going to raise before God. Put my hand on the Bible. But it's not to judge it. There's no judging it, because Jesus doesn't judge it. Our function is to see no error, regardless of what rises in form, and be honest here. A friend, I had seen him a while. He knew him through Muji, and he said, "Yeah, I really see myself getting really honest in the shadow work." The shadows being the shadow puppets that we're playing inside, the little shadow puppets. And that is, this whole honesty of God thing has been so helpful here for me to see that distinction. And that we don't have to spend time on anything other than desire. You can ask Jesus, do I need to spend any time on anything other than seeing my desire for objective experience to transcend personal identity? Spend time looking with you at where I'm investing in the energy to suppress the recognition of divine light through desire not to be it. And then we just look like we're doing every day together, and the love flows, and we're jumping on calls in the Holy Light Brigade. And the dedication, the beauty of the dedication of the brothers to each other in the simplicity. Rita keeps saying that, and she's so true. It's so simple. He's saying, see that you're light, and anything else is not that. Is a desire not to be that. And then it's like, yep. Okay. You're right. Yep, you're right. Happier. Yep, you're right. And then we go together to God, you and I. And all we do is celebrate and just laugh at the impossibility that we can be anything other than light. At the boo-boo. The little oopsie in consciousness. That the love of God, infinite light, all of you as light in the mind, is reflections of myself. Then you see everyone's reflecting back light, because you see everything is light. There isn't anything other than light. And then there's just conditioning and the play of consciousness. So now we have Jesuses getting together to talk about Jesus and be coached by Jesus. That's all, our only function. You can ask them. Jesus says, my only function is to join with other reflections of Jesus in my mind to see that I'm Jesus. It's a simple plan. It's a simple and powerful plan. So thank you, Jesus, for this holy gathering together in the light of divine being as divine being. Thank you. Happy hologram.
Happy holodeck.
Holodeck. Yeah. Best holodeck ever, this one. We're playing.